are a really good strategy for readers. I know a lot of us, we get distracted. It's hard for us to focus on the text, especially if we don't necessarily enjoy or want to read the text that we're reading. And in that case, if you're annotating and you have a purpose for reading and you're looking for a specific component or element, you're going to be able to focus more easily and not get distracted because you're reading actively. You're actively reading. So with that being said, again, thinking about the benefits of annotations is going to slow readers down. That helps you learn more. It also helps you pay more attention. And I hope you have these in your notes. Yes? Okay. It also causes you to think about what you're reading. And obviously, you have to think to learn. Let's see. And sometimes we want you guys to think deeply, carefully, intentionally about what you read and read with a purpose. So, Alicia, what is one of the 3 ways that you can annotate a text according to Doug Fisher?
Important. You want me to read like the way or like the word?
How about you paraphrase it and put it into your own words? Just share with me one of the tips that he gave for annotation. What is one thing that you might annotate when you're reading a text?
He said to underline key ideas.
Perfect. Underline key ideas.
Circle words and phrases that are confusing or unclear and write margin notes.
Right. Obel, anything to add on to that? Any thoughts, questions? I know there's only 2 of us. Okay, so these are the 3 things that we're kind of going to focus on annotating today. Another important thing he said in the video, can you only annotate for these 3 things? No.
I don't know what else he said, but I know that they weren't the only reasons.
Right, so these are not the only 3 things. Alicia, do you remember maybe some other examples that he listed?
No, I don't.
Okay, that's all right. I can see Obel say you're thinking.
I remember he said something, but I can't remember.
Yes, and that's okay. So it doesn't have to be just these 3 things. You could also ask questions, you can record your reactions, you can make connections, and we're going to dive deeper into the different reading strategies you can use to annotate a text as we continue. But for today, these are the 3 things. The key ideas, so what's about, anything that's confusing, which we did that with article of the week last week or the week before, where you had to annotate with your reading process. How do I fix up confusion when I'm reading? Do I just continue reading? Do I go back and reread more slowly? Do I use context clues? So we've talked about that, marking your confusion whenever you're reading, or that could be vocabulary. Like Obel mentioned, vocabulary might get in the way of you understanding a text, so you might want to mark that.
Or write the definition of what it means.
Perfect, yes. Because you should have some margin notes. It shouldn't just be highlighting, so you might go back and write in that definition either from context clues or if you looked it up online or asked a friend.
Or like the man was saying in the video, you use different colors for different meanings, because sometimes if you use yellow, you don't know exactly, you'll get it mixed up, you'll get confused.
That is an excellent thing to point out, is using the different colors of highlighters to indicate different, what's the word I'm looking for, different purposes. That's a really good strategy, and I actually do that too. A lot of times I'll color code things, it's just
I'll
easier.
use green or yellow.
Exactly.
Yellow.
Perfect. So we're going to go ahead and dive into the stretch article. And so we talked about before reading strategies and how you want to preview a text to kind of, again, set that reading purpose. So go ahead, get the stretch article in front of you. For the first read, I am going to do a think aloud and just model for you guys what's going through my head when I'm first encountering a new text. So why do readers preview whenever they read? Again, you kind of get a head start on understanding it. Also, it will activate that prior knowledge, what you might already know about the content, to give you clues. Thinking about text structure and text features, and we talked about reading for different purposes. So like reading for entertainment versus reading for, again, learning. I read differently. And most importantly, you develop a sense of how they may be able to engage the text at a personal level. So what demands will the text make of me, and what rewards might provide. So these are just some questions you can ask yourself to preview. But like I said, I'm just going to do a think aloud. As I'm doing the think aloud and annotating the text, I want you to follow along. You do not have to do my annotations. You can if you would like, or you can add in your own, but during the second reading, you will be annotating it.
Wait, annotations again are underlining and writing and all that stuff.
Yes, and so if you want to have your notes beside you as I read, so that way you can kind of reference them, feel free to. Also, another thing that might be helpful for you guys, I passed out the annotation checklist, and so you should have that in front of you. Here's your annotation checklist. So this can just go along with the notes in your class notes. So let's maybe actually go ahead and go through this.
Every time.
Although, or Alicia, would either one of you want to volunteer to read the checklist?
Oh, I'll do it.
Thank you.
What's today?
Today's the 6th. Go ahead.
Included, do I read that part? Included target and annotation symbol marks.
Good.
Write numbers to track the sequence of ideas, events. Circle keywords or phrases that are confusing. Attempt to use context clues and or word parts for resolving confusing word or phrases. Underline the central idea or major point. Use vertical lines for longer statements. Place symbols in the margin to note key ideas, questions, or summaries. Write page numbers to show where related ideas can be found.
Excellent. Thank you. Obo, you want to read the...
Yes. Include margin notes that explain the meaning of symbol / marks. Includes margin notes that reveal personal comments, questions. Includes revised or new annotations based on rereading and or collaborative conversations. Annotations are
Legible? Good.
legible and useful for future oral or writing tasks.
Good. Thank you. All right. So this kind of just sums up everything that we've talked about. It kind of hits on those other things that you could annotate for. It also talks about, like Obo pointed out, the margin notes and having writing go along with the highlights and underlines. And so for this checklist, maybe we'll just go through and do the think aloud the first time. I'll annotate, and you can add your own annotations or just follow along with mine. Then we can use the annotation checklist to kind of look through and see what we annotated for. And if we want to add on, you can reference this to kind of guide you whenever you do your own annotations. So like I said, just go ahead. You can have those off to the side to reference as we read. But for now, follow along the stretch article as I read it for the first time. And as I said, I'm going to preview the text to start with. So I might ask myself some of these questions that are listed on the board. So the first one says, how does reading this text relate to me personally? Why am I reading it? Well, in my head, whenever I go to read my text, I'm thinking, all right, this is a T3000. I know that I'm going to have to demonstrate my understanding by answering those multiple choice questions. So I'm reading to learn. I'm trying to gather information, gather facts, evidence, the key ideas. So again, our annotation notes, as I'm reading, I'm probably going to just get the main ideas and also think about the author's purpose. And also I know that I'm going to have to respond in writing. There's a thought question, or this is very similar to our article of the week where you have to respond in writing. So that's another really great thing about annotations. They really help you with your writing. And you should work like smarter, not harder. So if you annotate a text, the writing task is so much easier than if you have nothing on the page and you have to keep going back and rereading and rereading. You're like, what did I read? And wait, what did that say again? But if you have annotations, that makes it a quicker process. And also it helps your writing be at a higher level, kind of that deeper thinking, okay? If you guys have any questions as I'm going through, feel free just to jump in and interrupt me. All right, so like I said, I have my reading purpose. I know that I'm reading to learn, gather information. I'm going to go ahead and look at some of the different text features and think about the genre. Since it is on a G3000, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't switch this over so you guys could see me. That was silly. You guys should be able to watch me as I do this using the document camera, but I guess we'll see if this actually works. It did literally a second ago. There it is. Okay, so there's my article. So like I said, I know that I'm reading to learn. I'm going to have to answer some questions to show my understanding and then write about the information in the article. Also, because I'm on a T3000, I know that this is nonfiction. So in my head, I know nonfiction, the purpose might be to inform or explain a specific topic, or the author might try to persuade me to take his side, or maybe argue his position on a particular issue or topic. So while I'm reading, I'm going to keep those things in mind, that is nonfiction and true, and that I should either be learning or I'm going to be looking for examples of bias to know if I should trust the author or not. So that's going through my head. I'm looking at the text features, like the picture and the caption. So it looks like that this is a Japanese business person. And also I see that the bold print of text feature is Tokyo, Japan, which is where they're writing about. So this, it could have to do with different cultures. So the caption says Japanese.
That's the setting, right?
Yeah, yes, the
Location.
setting, yes, the location, good. So the caption says that Eriko, age 36, is a Japanese business person who usually works 14 hours a day. She used only 8 of her 20 paid vacation days in 2014. She took 6 of those days when she was sick. Okay, so it's talking a lot about work, and also the title is Working Too Hard. So thinking about what I know and kind of making a connection, it makes me wonder, what is working too hard? Because honestly, I feel like I work really hard, but apparently in Japan, they might be working too hard, and I wonder what that limit is. So that question, also questioning, can help kind of engage you in a text, because now I want to read to answer that. What is working too hard? I don't know, like what is the limit? So I'm going to go ahead and start reading now that I understand kind of what I'm reading for and what the point of the text is. So like I said, follow along as I read. So Tokyo, Japan. Many people in today's work world eagerly anticipate taking some vacation time each year. After all, they work hard and want to enjoy some time off with friends or family. People in Japan, however, have long had a tendency to keep on working, and now the government wants to change that. And I just realized as I was reading that I want to go ahead and break this down into chunks. So if you want to go ahead and do that on your article as well, that will make talking about the text a lot easier when we go to do that. Each paragraph, yes. We have done this before. So Alicia, if you could go ahead and number each paragraph. It should give you a total of 12, I believe. And again, last week or the week before's article, the week we talked about those kind of comprehension strategies, kind of stopping after reading chunks of the text.
I got 12.
Okay, so it should be, I believe, 12.
Because I have to number these too?
Yes, you do.
11, 12.
Yep. Because it indicates the new paragraph. We have that space to show that there's a break. And that's a really nice spot too after each paragraph or after a confusing part, like checking in and being like, did I understand what I just read? Because if not, maybe I need to go back and clarify. So after reading that first chunk, that's what I was doing. I kind of checked it in my head and was like, whoa, wait a second, I forgot some steps. I want to break this up. And now I'm going to go ahead and keep reading now that I've done that. As I read, I want to give you guys a specific purpose. I want you to circle any words you don't know. So vocabulary. So Alicia, what are you annotating for this first read?
Wait, you want me to read it?
I am going to read it, but what specific purpose do I want you to annotate for on the first read? Because remember, close reading is repeated readings, each time with a different purpose.
Well, it's just talking about, it just keeps repeating about work.
Okay, and Ovell, what do I want you to annotate for? It was, Okay, this is why I'm checking in with you guys. From your notes, the second one said circle words in